Greetings from the Alexandrina Council. Let's meet the driving force behind the Alexandrina community. Chief Executive Officer, Andrew MacDonald. Mayor, Keith Parks. Deputy Mayor, Councillor, Michael Scott. West Ward, Councillor Bill Coomans. Councillor Michael Scott. North Ward, Councillor Craig Maidment. Councillor Sue Miller. Councillor Christy Thornton. South Ward, Councillor Margaret Gardner. Councillor Millie Livingston. And finally, Councillor Peter Oliver.
Good afternoon. Welcome to our council meeting of Monday, the 17th of August 2026. This meeting is being conducted in accordance with the Local Government Act and the applicable regulations, codes and policies. An audio recording of the meeting will be made for minute-taking purposes, and it will last the length of the open meeting. And the audio file will be available on the council website. We also have our friends from South Coast Television here again with us. They'll make a video of the recording of the meeting, and that's also available online. The council meeting is a public place. There should be no expectation of privacy, and also there is unlikely to be any legal protection or other privilege attached to any statements made during this meeting. If you could please place any phones or smart devices onto silent so that they don't cause an interruption to our proceedings. I'd especially like to welcome the members of the gallery. It's always good to see people here with an interest in what's before council. Those of you who are not familiar with the venue, the toilets are straight through behind us, behind you there. And we'll look forward to getting the meeting going. We would like to welcome our council members. We have an apology from Councillor Gardner, and Councillor Oliver has away on leave of absence, and so we've got two of our members missing. And I'd like to also welcome our Chief Executive Officer, Andrew MacDonald, our General Manager Community, Stacey Bateson, our General Manager Infrastructure, Alan Harvey, our General Manager Corporate, Tash Hunt, our Chief Financial Officer, Andrew Alderson, our Group Manager Regional Development, Matt Atkinson, our Manager of Governance and Communication, Lachlan Miller, and our Minute Secretary, Tanya Cregan, and there's a few other staff who are here as required. Will you please stand, if you're able, for the local government prayer and acknowledgement of owners. Almighty God, we humbly beseech Thee to grant Thy blessing upon the works of this council. Guide us in our deliberations for the advancement and the true welfare of the people of this district. The Alexandrina Council and its communities acknowledge the Narrandjeri, the Paramount and the Kaurna people as the traditional custodians of the lands and waters of our council district. Thank you. Point 5 is declarations of interest by members. If a member has a conflict of interest for the purposes of Chapter 5, Part 4, Division 1, Subdivision 4 of the Local Government Act of 1999, in a matter which will be before council at this meeting, you're asked to disclose the interest to the council and provide full and accurate details of the relevant interest at the beginning of the meeting. And you're also reminded that you must deal with that conflict in accordance with the relevant positions of Subdivision 4 at the time the item arises for consideration. We have been advised by Councillor Miller that she has a conflict of interest in item 9.13 and items 12.2 and 12.3. Do you wish to tell us what your conflict is?
Thank you, Worship. Yes, due to my employment, as a degree of caution for item 9.13, I intend to leave the chamber, unless, of course, my leaving impacts quorum, and if it does, I'll stay, but I won't participate or debate, and I won't vote. And then I do have a material conflict of interest for items 12.2 and 12.3, again due to my employment, and I will be leaving the chamber for those. Thank you.
Are there any other Councillor Coomans?
Thanks, Mayor Parks. I've got two conflicts. One is item 4.1. The other one's item 9.2 in relation to the Goolwa Rowing Club. I'm a member of the Fleurieu Regional Assessment Panel, and I look at this as a general conflict of interest and won't take part in the debate and will leave the chamber.
Councillor Livingston.
Thank you, Mayor Parks. I am declaring a general conflict of interest at item 9.10 due to a family member being a potential recipient but not a direct family member, hence being general, not material, and I will stay in the chamber and debate and vote.
Are there any others? Not. Councillor Scott.
Yes, I have it, I think it's 9.8 in relation to the Rotary Club of Goolwa's Lease. I'm an honorary member of the Goolwa Rotary Club, and therefore I have a potential or an actual conflict of interest, and I'll leave the chamber at that point.
Are there any others? So item 2 is confirmation of minutes. 2.1 is confirmation of the ordinary council meeting minutes of the 20th of July 2026. There's a recommendation that they be received. There is a clarification of some bits that were missed out in your agenda. So is there a move before that? Move, Councillor Miller. Is there a seconder, Councillor Livingston? Is there any questions relating to those minutes? If not, I'll put it to you. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. Item 2.2 is the minutes of the Climate Emergency and Advisory Committee of the 6th of July 2026. There's a recommendation that they be received and noted. Moved, Councillor Livingston. Seconded, Councillor Coomans. Any questions or discussion relating to those minutes? No, so put that to you. All those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. 2.3 is the minutes of the Heritage Advisory Group of the 4th of June 2026 and the 16th of July 2026. And there's a recommendation that those minutes be received and noted. Moved, Councillor Maidment. Seconded, Councillor Miller. Any discussion relating to those minutes? If not, I'll put that to you. All those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. 2.4 is the minutes of the Ratalang, Basham Beach and Horseshoe Bay Advisory Committee special meeting of the 23rd of July 2026. There's a recommendation that those minutes be received and noted. Moved, Councillor Coomans. Councillor Coomans. Seconded, Councillor Maidment. Any discussion relating to those minutes? I'll put that recommendation to you. All those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. 2.5 is the minutes of the Cemeteries Advisory Group of the 5th of August 2026. And there's a recommendation that those minutes be received and noted. Moved, Councillor Maidment. Seconded, Councillor Scott. Is there any discussion relating to those minutes? Not. I'll put that to you. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. Item 3 is adjourned debate. There is no adjourned debate. Item 4 is presentations and deputations. 4.1 is a deputation from the Goolwa Rowing Club regarding consultation on request to construct a clubroom facility. And we have Simon Burr with us to present on behalf of the club. Simon, do you require more than 5 minutes?
No, thank you, Worship.
You'll be right.
About 5
Okay.
minutes will be fine.
Councillor Coomans?
I've got the conflict of interest in this one, so I'll leave the chamber.
Thank you, Mayor Parks. Councillors and council staff, thank you for the opportunity to speak again in support of the Goolwa Rowing Club's request to remove the deck requirement from our proposed club facility development and to enable Council to provide landowners consent so the project can proceed. Council has recently undertaken public consultation on this matter, and we'd like to thank them for their work through the MySay survey, and particularly to Lisa Hoyle for her detailed report. Goolwa Rowing Club has carefully considered the feedback received. We acknowledge that some concerns and objections have been raised, and as responsible community organisation, we would like to address some of those concerns. The removal of the deck simplifies the development, reduces its footprint and cost, and makes the project more sustainable and achievable while still delivering the essential facilities required for rowing and community use. We outlined our reasons to Council and the community at our previous deputation. We also feel it's important to address some of the misconceptions that emerged during the consultation process. Council's report has acknowledged these, and we now wish to use this opportunity to answer some of the community's concerns. Firstly, Goolwa Rowing Club is not a private club. We are an inclusive community sporting organisation affiliated with Rowing South Australia and open to anyone interested in learning to row socially or competitively. We actively encourage participation from all adult ages and backgrounds. Our club motto, any boat, any seat, any time. In fact, one of the limitations we currently face is a lack of suitable facilities. This has restricted our ability to engage with students from schools across the Fleurieu and to introduce young people to the sport. The proposed facility will help address those limitations and create opportunities for greater community participation. Secondly, this project is not a request for council funding. The club is committed to funding the development through its own efforts, grants, fundraising and other financing arrangements. While a loan from council may potentially be considered in the future, we are not seeking council funding for this development. Thirdly, the club has demonstrated a willingness to adapt and compromise. We have revised our plans to ensure they are practical, financially responsible, environmentally sustainable and reflective of community feedback. We believe this is what good community stewardship looks like. We have also actively pursued over a dozen different sites and for various reasons found them unsuitable. Finally, the idea that the removal of the deck provides zero community benefit. The proposed facility is not simply an investment in rowing. It is a community-focused investment in recreation and health for all groups and genders of high school age and above. It will promote youth engagement, tourism and the long-term activation of the riverfront. And it will support existing members, welcome new participants and provide opportunities for people who have never before had the chance to experience our sport. The decision before Council this evening is a practical one. By approving the removal of the deck requirement and granting landowners consent, Council will enable a more achievable project to proceed while demonstrating support for a community organisation that has been a part of Goolwa since the turn of the century. On behalf of the Goolwa Rowing Club, I respectfully ask Council to support this request to allow for removal of the deck from our lease, provide landowners consent and allow us to take the next step towards delivering a facility that will serve both our members and the broader Alexandrina community. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Simon. Are there any questions of Simon? No, but thanks very much for your time again, Simon. Thank you.
All right.
So 4.2 is a deputation. We'll get, I've got Councillor Kerman's back. So 4.2 is a deputation from Cittaslow Goolwa Incorporated regarding the unique status of Goolwa as a Cittaslow town. We've got Michael Keane here on behalf of Cittaslow. Michael, do you need more than 5 minutes?
Yes, I would if the Chamber's happy.
10 minutes?
10 minutes is fine, thank
So
you.
everybody in favour? If you don't put your hand up, I don't know whether you're in favour or not. Thank you. Let's go ahead, thanks.
Great, thank you. So first of all, thank you for the opportunity to present here tonight. This deputation was originally requested when there was a rumour about McDonald's coming to Goolwa. Unfortunately, it's no longer a rumour. But let's first have a quick recap on the story of how Cittaslow came here to Goolwa. During the Millennium Drought, Goolwa was pretty affected by the Millennium Drought. You know, it suffered greatly with wide-ranging environmental, social and economic impacts. And some of our local residents saw that in Italy, some of the small towns were being reinvigorated by becoming Cittaslow towns. And they thought that's exactly what Goolwa needs, a bit of invigoration. So this enthusiastic group of locals, they worked with the council, and together with the council members, the council actually became accredited for Cittaslow for the town of Goolwa in 2007. Cittaslow is the first Cittaslow town, Goolwa is the first Cittaslow town outside of Europe, and is now one of 310 member towns around the world. It's really put Goolwa on the international map for all the right reasons. Two of the key commitments that were accepted by council at the time were that member towns accept without reservations the Cittaslow Association Charter. Another part was that the Charter states that Cittaslow values include a commitment to actively comply with and promote in every venue the values and contents of slow food. The community organisation, Cittaslow Goolwa, on which I am a member, was incorporated in 2007 to carry out the various community activities that would be difficult for the council to do within the constraints of local government legislation. And while almost 20 years has passed since then, the focus on slow living is needed even more than ever with the various environmental crises and the economic pressures currently affecting the community. So just sort of maybe referring a little bit to a scene that might be remembered from the movie Life of Brian. What has Cittaslow ever done for us? Now, we haven't built viaducts, we haven't provided sanitation, nor have we built roads, but we have been caring for the environment. Replanting and maintaining Yakieri Park. We recently also adopted Birchall Road Reserve to remove invasive species, replace them with endemic plants. We've propagated, distributed and planted over 15,000 native plants, including some on council land in prominent areas, such as down at the wharf. We provide regular practical education in schools and raising awareness of environmental issues in the wider community. And we also perform regular clean-ups of Randall Road, where we're collecting significant amounts of rubbish and litter. We also promote and support local growers, makers and producers through the Cittaslow Produce and Artisans Market and Cittaslow Corner. Just a few stats from last year, we had over 2,200 visitors drop in to Cittaslow Corner. We had about $24,000 in sales, of which about close to 20,000 of that was paid directly back to small local producers and makers. We've also been running a productive community garden, and I'm planning a new community garden in the education precinct. We've also been activating public spaces, organising vibrant community events, such as at the wharf, which happens on Friday nights during the summertime down at the wharf. We used to provide, do the ever popular Goolwa smoke-off until COVID sort of killed that activity. We regularly partner with council in providing services to their gallery openings. We have community art projects such as the Friendship Seat round behind Cittaslow Corner there. We also engage artists to work with students in schools. And we've also been providing many support to other activities in the Goolwa, such as the South Coast Jazz Festival, supporting Goolwa Community Association, the Goolwa Community Centre, and the Goolwa Rowing Club, just to name a few. So Cittaslow achieves all of this work through our volunteers. We continue to work tirelessly because we believe in Cittaslow principles and in trusting Council's preparedness to uphold them in its policies and actions. So imagine if Council had to cover or even a fraction of these activities within its own staffing and budgets. And all it really costs the council directly is its annual subscription to Cittaslow International of €1,500. So we've strived and worked for the last 20 years or so, and we've actually outlived other members of Cittaslow within Australia. Our model works here because it was designed and works as a partnership between local government and the community. From the start, when the community groups worked with council and elected members and things to get accreditation, through to the continued support of past and present mayors, elected members and senior council staff. Alexandrina Council, for its own part, since it was incepted in 1997, has been constantly striving to work to protect our environment and improve the lifestyle of our community. There's so many workshops, initiatives, action plans. You could be looking on the council website forever, just going into all those very rabbit holes of what the council has done over time. But I'll just pick out three. In 2021, the council ran a well-attended and productive regenerative food system workshop. In 2023, the council issued the Climate Emergency Action Plan. One interesting point in this action plan is that it shows that 46% of the greenhouse emissions within the area are reduced by transport. So one of the keys of reducing emissions is to consuming less and therefore travelling less. And most recently, the Living Lightly Locally project. And I'll quote the Mayor on his press release for this one. Living Lightly Locally supports our commitment to environmental sustainability, community wellbeing and climate resilience. It empowers individuals and households to make meaningful changes while strengthening community connection. This initiative aligns with Council's long-term vision for the region. Now, at the first Living Lightly Locally workshop, participants measured their ecological footprint. And what they learned here is that the key to reducing their ecological footprint is to consume less and to travel less. So the community and the council has been striving to consume less and travel less. So just in case you hadn't caught that, we're all striving to consume less and travel less. Now, the relaxed character of Goolwa is why we live, work, eat and play here. A McDonald's or any other fast food chain is not in keeping with the character of Goolwa. We already have a broad range of local small food businesses, many owned and run by local families, and these are an essential element of the character of Goolwa. But this is not unique to Goolwa. Later on tonight in your meeting, you'll be talking about the draft Strathalbyn and Surrounds Town Plan. And I'll just take a few little snippets from that report, where the community comments were things like, keep our wonderful heritage, protect history and character. We are losing country-town identity. The town's heritage is fundamental to its attractiveness as a place to live and visit. And so the summary there is that the character protection should be essential for all future planning decisions. And also, a former councillor, now the member for Finniss, Lou Nicholson, MP, she's working on the Character Preservation Bill, which intends to legislate protecting our town's character to be a key consideration in planning and development decisions. So as a community, we are striving to reduce our impact on the world by taking the time to think about the impact of our actions, consuming less and travelling less. However, franchise fast food is the exact opposite. It's all about consuming more, bringing materials from great distances from sensible suppliers, so travelling more, and all the profits go offshore. Now, tonight's focus is just about talking about the character of Goolwa, the whole downside of highly processed fast foods on the community's health, and the other impacts of a fast food outlet in Goolwa is a discussion for another occasion. So we all must strive to maintain the character of Goolwa, strive to keep McDonald's and other fast food chains out of Goolwa. And a little pertinent quote from the internet, McDonald's shareholder base reflects the typical ownership pattern of major American corporations, with institutional investors dominating the register. It is anything but local, and therefore anything but Goolwa. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. Are there any questions of Michael regarding Cittaslow? Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Worship. Thank you, Michael. I'm glad you mentioned Strathalbyn. It's been a very interesting experience with KFC in Strathalbyn.
Mm-hmm.
Council's not the decision maker here.
We know.
And I'm glad you mentioned preserving character. That was the same argument for Strathalbyn, as you know. But what you want to preserve, legislation enables exactly what you're trying to stop. So it's really challenging for council.
Yep.
We're powerless apart from advocacy, and that's my understanding. And if you stop fast food, you stop fish and chip shops, you stop. No, so that's the problem.
Correct.
The legislation is the problem.
Correct.
So yeah, thank you though. And Cittaslow is amazing. I learnt so much about it when I first came onto council. So thank you, but yeah, the decision is not for us,
Sure.
unfortunately.
May I make a suggestion to that though? So one of the things that McDonald's is about is making money. Now, everybody I talk to, maybe because it's a circle of people I work with and interact with think the same as me, that McDonald's is a bad idea. One thing that would talk to McDonald's directly is dollars and not making money. But we don't know how wide the community's support for maintaining our character is unless we do something like a community consultation. So maybe one way we can try and give McDonald's a bit of a scare about how we might make money here is by doing a community consultation sooner rather than later to actually get the community's view on their view of the character of Goolwa and whether McDonald's is a good thing. And then when McDonald's come and think, oh, we're going to make money, we can say, well, hang on, 80% or whatever the number is of the community doesn't support you. So that might be able to scare them off from a financial point of view.
Any further questions? No, so thanks very much, Michael. Well
Thank
done.
you.
Thank you. So 4.3 is a deputation from Miss Leanne Bradey regarding the management of little Corellas within the Goolwa township. So Leanne, do you need more than 5 minutes?
Yes, please.
So you need 10 minutes?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, all in favour of that? Yep, that's okay, thank you.
Mayor Parks, councillors, Mr McDonald and others, thank you for the opportunity to address you this evening. My name's Leanne Bradey, I'm a registered nurse. I live at 20 Brookings Street, Goolwa. I appear before you tonight because of the severe and worsening impact of large flocks of little Corella in our community. I'm here not just as a concerned community member, but as a health professional. What I'm going to describe to you is a public health issue, and it is getting worse. I'm here because I see the effects of this problem in my neighbours, in my community and in myself. I sent a letter to councillors addressing this issue on August 4th, 2026, and I'll take that as being read. Further to that letter, let me tell you what it's like to live with this problem. The noise from hundreds, sometimes thousands of little Corella is not just birdsong. It is a relentless, grating, high-pitched screech that begins before dawn and continues after dark. It's present late at night, it wakes people up, it keeps people awake. It does not stop for weeks and months at a time. As a nurse, I can tell you what chronic sleep deprivation does to people. It affects concentration, mood, immune function, blood pressure and mental health. It is not a minor inconvenience, it is a clinical health risk, and it is being imposed on residents of Goolwa season after season with no effective relief. Beyond the noise, faecal matter covers footpaths, playgrounds, outdoor furniture, rooftops and rainwater catchments, including the close proximity to Goolwa Primary School. Corella droppings carry bacteria capable of causing illness in humans like psittacosis. Children and the elderly are particularly vulnerable. I've personally experienced a skin infection after washing Corella faeces from our vehicles. Debris from trees during roosting creates a physical safety hazard, especially for children, elderly residents and people with mobility issues. The tree canopy, which is critical to our town's livability, its tourism appeal and its resilience in summer heat, is being progressively destroyed. Our native birds, smaller parrots and black cockatoos, are being displaced. The biodiversity of our township is being diminished. Residents, clubs and businesses in town are bearing the cost of property damage. This is not a seasonal inconvenience, it is an ongoing worsening crisis. I want to speak directly to the mental health impact because as a nurse I can see it clearly and it concerns me deeply. Living with a problem of this severity month after month, year after year, with no effective action by those responsible to act, this is what creates mental illness. It is not just the noise, the mess, the damage, it's a sense of helplessness. It is a feeling that nobody is listening. It's waking up at 4 a.m. to screeching birds and knowing that there is nothing you can do and no one with the power to act is going to do anything. Chronic stress, sleep deprivation, anxiety and a sense of powerlessness, these are the ingredients of depression. I see it in my neighbours, I hear it in conversations on the street. People are frustrated, angry, exhausted and increasingly hopeless. This is not acceptable and it is not something that should be left unaddressed by the council that has a duty to protect the welfare and well-being of its community. I want to be direct about this. The little Corella management methods used to date by council are not working. Scaring techniques, gas guns, lights, community education, none of these have reduced the population or provided lasting relief. They move the birds temporarily from one tree to another. This is not management, this is displacement. As an advocate for mental health, I need to address the advice council currently gives to residents who contact you about this problem. Residents are told to make clapboards, to buy torches, to buy kites. The Alexandrina Council Little Corella information paper tells residents to, I quote, accept that there is no silver bullet fix and to accept that the Little Corella are part of our current environment. Everyone, council officers included, know that these measures do not work. Everyone knows it. And yet this is what residents are told to do. I want you to understand what that does to people psychologically. Being told to do something that you know will not work by the people who have the power to actually solve the problem is deeply demoralising. It creates a sense of abandonment. It tells people that their distress does not matter. It tells them that they are on their own. As a nurse, I can tell you that is how you create mental health problems. You take people who are already stressed and sleep deprived and you tell them that there is nothing that can be done and they need to accept it. That is harmful advice. It is not acceptable from a council that exists to provide for the welfare and well-being of its community. Tonight you will be presented a petition requesting council to authorise the implementation of a proven, effective and humane Corella reduction program as part of the Corella Action Plan. This needs to be authorised tonight. With the greatest respect, we do not need more reports, we do not need more studies, we do not need more workshops, surveys or habitat models. The problem is well understood. It has been well understood for over a decade. The solution is known. It has been successfully demonstrated on Kangaroo Island. What is needed now is not more information, it is a decision to act. Every month of delay is another month of harm to this community. Even the anticipation of another month of sleep deprivation, stress, property damage, tree destruction is declining mental health. The community has been patient, but patience is not infinite. I'm not a lawyer, but I do understand whose job this is, and it is yours. I have been told by one of your members that this is a matter for state government. With respect, that is not correct. The following 3 acts state that this is a council matter. Under the Local Government Act, this council has a statutory function to provide for the welfare and well-being of its community, to protect its areas from hazard, to manage the environment and to manage the public areas that it controls. Under the Local Nuisance and Litter Control Act, this council is the responsible authority for managing local nuisance, including noise and impacts caused by animals within its area. Under the Public Health Act, this council is the local public health authority for its area with a duty to identify risks to public health and to take remedial action. The Corellas roost in council trees. They are sustained by council-managed land and waterways. The Department for Environment and Water has said publicly that managing little Corellas is the responsibility of landholders and land managers. On public land, that means you. And I'm here to say clearly, the community knows where the responsibility lies and we expect you to act on it. We are not here with a vague complaint. We are here with a clear, specific and achievable request. We ask Alexandrina Council commit to authorising the implementation of a coordinated Corella management program that includes a targeted, humane culling program modelled on the Kangaroo Island Landscape Board's nighttime roost site control trial, which significantly reduced flock size humanely and effectively over 2 seasons using noise-suppressed firearms with infrared scopes. This is not untested, it is not experimental, it has been done and it has worked. There is no legislative barrier. The little Corella are an unprotected species. No permit is required to shoot them. The pathway is clear. What we need from Council tonight is not another report. It is a decision in principle to implement a Corella action plan by October 2026, with the program commencing this coming summer season. I'm here because I want to help our community. We have a petition, we have supporting correspondence from affected residents, and we are prepared to pursue every avenue available if action is not forthcoming by the September 26 Council meeting. We would much rather work with you than against you, and I look forward to making this a better place to live together. Finally, I would like to address a concern raised at the Council Community Information meeting last week about the potential of anti-culling protesters. I've spent my whole life caring for people, and along the way animals also. I do not like the idea of culling any animal, but we have to think of the greater good. The Council's obligation is to act in the public interest and to protect and mitigate risk to public health and community wellbeing pursuant to its statutory responsibilities. That obligation is not displaced by the fact that some members of our community may potentially oppose or object to the action required. The Council's task is to discharge its responsibility in the interest of the community and as a whole, for the greater good. Where a known public health issue falls within Council's responsibility, the failure to take reasonable action to address it presents a far more direct and serious risk to the Council's obligations than a prospect of a hypothetical opposition to that action. The current situation is worsening and unsustainable. Without timely and decisive intervention, the negative impacts on health, safety and the long-term environmental quality of Goolwa Township will continue to deteriorate. Thank you.
Thank you, Leanne. Are there any questions of Leanne regarding her presentation? No. No. Thank you very much. It's perfect timing. Well done. Good on you. 4.4 is a deputation from Mr. Martin Ferry regarding the Corella Action Plan for Strathalbyn. Martin, you got to speak. Do you need more than 5 minutes?
No, 5 minutes will be fine, thank you.
Thank you.
First of all, I'd just like to thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I've been a groundsman at the Eastern Fleurieu School for approximately 7 years, and I've been living in Strathalbyn for just on 30. So, yeah, and slowly over the years, the population of the Corellas has increased immensely. And I've had a couple of conversations with the local councillor regarding this matter. However, I've not been able to give a real resolution to the long list of problems caused by the Corellas. Always goes back to it's not our problem, it's a state government problem, but I think it should come back to our local council to do something about it. Because we're in a state now where it's out of control, and if we don't act with it now, it's going to be fully out of control, and now's the time to do it. Some of the issues we have at school, from spring through to autumn, we get a huge influx of Corellas from up to 2,000 to 3,000 at a time on our ovals, on our front and back ovals. This causes significant destruction to our ovals with holes being dug in the ground. This creates a safety risk for our students participating in PE, as well as little athletics and the cricket groups that we hire our oval to. This is a safety and wellbeing issue that we think we should abide by. We have also had some new buildings erected over the last 3 or 4 years where the air conditioning units have been installed on the roof of the buildings, and of course the cages weren't put on the buildings, roof of them, because we didn't think we needed them. The Corellas have come in, chewed all the wiring, shorted the air conditioning units out, so once again we've had to replace those at a cost of the school, which, yeah, once again, taxpayers are paying for that. Yeah. The bird feces also creates a significant health and safety risk. We are spending approximately $3,000 per term getting a professional cleaner to come in and clean them up. Once again, costs. Tennis nets, volleyball and basketball nets are regularly damaged by the Corellas. This is the main one for our school. Our PA system is an important school asset, particularly for communication with students and staff and sounding our fire warning alarms when required. The Corellas have damaged the wiring and the system is not working adequately. This raises a significant safety concern. We're in the process of getting all that redone now at a huge cost. Yeah. Some of our students, as well as members of the Strathalbyn community, experience mental health difficulties and or neurodiversity. The deafening noise caused by thousands of Corellas can be extremely distressing and triggering for some people. A couple of years ago, myself and several students planted about 30 new trees at the school along our new car park which we had put in. Brand new trees which the kids propagated. We bought tree guards, we staked them, and that was done in the 4th term of school. Within the first 6 weeks of the Christmas school holidays, they were just destroyed. Trees were gone, guards were chewed, everything was gone. So all that hard work that the kids put in, it's just all gone. All of our mature trees around the school being stripped bare, which when we planted saplings, we planted the saplings last year, which we've just spoke about. Our security cameras, well, we just recently had a heap of security cameras put in our school, and on a regular basis these cameras are destroyed and damaged by Corellas. Once again, continually forking out money to repair them. Our agricultural veggie gardens are continually netted to protect, and our vineyards get ripped and stripped every year. This directly affects our students' learning. There is also a constant mess clean up from a destruction of trees around the school and the wider community. This is not an EFS problem. The huge problem extends to the town oval, the bowling greens, the golf courses, the polo grounds and the surrounding parklands. I also work on a local farm which joins the 2 common effluent ponds on the outskirts of Strathalbyn. There has been numerous occasions where the Corellas have been sitting on the edge of the dam wall trying to chew holes in the plastic liner. This could become a significant environmental issue and the EPA may be involved if the liner is damaged. We have had council workers using infrared guns, drones, clapping boards as scare tactics. However, as soon as they leave, the Corellas return. It seems like a complete waste of time and ratepayers' money if these methods are not providing the long-term solution. Also, I drive the local school bus and I've noticed that the Corella population is spreading into local farming areas and they appear to residing there for longer periods of the year rather than migrating back north during the cooler months. If my information is correct, I believe the council is the one of the only councils not making any real effort to deal with this problem. In conclusion, this issue is not going away. If the council continues to turn a blind eye to it, the problem is continuing to grow and is affecting our schools, sporting facilities, businesses, farms, infrastructure, environmental and the wider community. We need council to acknowledge the seriousness of this problem and put a proper long-term management strategy in place, and relying on temporary scare tactics clearly not working. I think we need to act now. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. Are there any questions of Martin? Councillor Coomans.
Thanks, Martin, for your presentation. Leanne actually had a remedy for getting rid of the Corellas. I'm assuming you're supporting that sort of action as well?
Yes.
In culling?
Yes.
Yep.
Fully, yes.
And you were talking about the numbers at 2,000 to 3,000.
Yeah.
Have you done any investigations in terms of what sort of culling would be required?
Not really. I probably think the only humane way probably would be to shoot them. Yeah. That's my personal opinion. The scare tactics, you can net them, you can gas them, you can do all that. But we've had a private pigeon shooter come into our school. We've had problems with pigeons. He's fully qualified, done through SAPOL, all that sort of stuff. And he's come in and we've shot nearly 150 pigeons within our school because we had trouble with faeces and that's really toxic. And we're back down to probably 5 or 6 pigeons at the moment. So he's done a great job. So I think that's the only way to go. That's just my personal opinion. And yeah, we'd be happy to drive that, yeah. Yep.
Any further questions? Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Martin, and Leanne as well. for that articulate information. I'd just like to foreshadow, if I may, Your Worship, when we receive the petition in the next item, that I would just like to add some text to that.
No, we don't do motions as part of petitions. There's an item following which is on this very subject.
That's
and you
what
can put whatever you want to in that motion.
Yes, I'm just foreshadowing that I would like to. Thank you.
Any further discussion? No. Thanks very much, Martin. Thanks for your time and
Thank you, Mayor.
appreciate your efforts. Thank you. So 5.1 is a petition requesting council to reinstate lethal culling of little Corellas as part of the Corella Action Plan. Andrew, is there anything you want to change on that, update on that report? No. So there's a recommendation there before you that says that council receive the petition requesting council reinstate lethal culling of little Corellas as part of the Corella Action Plan by October 2026, and that it be forwarded to the Infrastructure Division for assessment and a response to the head petitioner. So that's the recommendation. So Councillor Miller, you wish to move that?
Yes, I do, Your Worship, as printed there, but I would also like to add 4 other points, if I may, and I have provided that to administration earlier today and sought advice on the additional information. I think it's, and that's it as printed. I'll just briefly read it out. I think we need to note the 2 deputations tonight, notwithstanding the previous deputations we've had on this topic. I would like to note that later in the agenda we're talking about the Goolwa Main Street trees, and that references Corella management. I'd like to note on page 186 of the agenda, when we're talking about the Strathtown plan, and I'm pleased that someone mentioned that, the engagement of that calls for culling of little Corellas and environmental balance concerns. And I would like to request that administration, as an interim short-term solution, I mean, ideally, I think we should start this now and get data, but I'm prepared to call for a report that does cost and have a budget impact no later than the 19th of October council meeting for the purpose of lethal culling of little Corellas in Strathalbyn and Goolwa. And I think we need to write to our state members. I mean, yes, we have a responsibility, but this needs legislation to enforce it and make everybody handling this in a consistent way and not move the problem around. So whilst I would like, I'm all for immediate culling of little Corellas. We know the damage they're doing. There were some excellent points made in the deputations tonight. They were factual, measured, articulate. We need to tell our community that we see you and we hear you and what you're saying matters. So I would just like to add these points, Your Worship. Thank you.
We have a seconder for that. Councillor Thornton, do you speak to it? Is any discussion? Councillor Scott.
Question, if I may. There are only the 2 towns are named in that. And would it be better to have it covering Alexandrina, because there are Corellas at Port Elliot and other places? And so I just wonder, the question is, can it be changed to the Alexandrina council area rather than Strathalbyn and Goolwa, please?
So Miller, are you happy to, you could just add including the greater Alexandrina council region?
I would like to, yes, I'm happy to add it, not replace it, where we say in Strathalbyn and Goolwa and other townships as required, if Councillor Thornton's happy with that. But we need to address it in Strathalbyn and Goolwa. It is a very serious problem. Thank you.
Any further discussion, questions? No, we've had, I'm from Councillor Coomans. You're with us? Yep, thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor Parks. Look, I do support this. I think it's about time that we do take some action. and I'm sort of commending one of our learned residents who did submit some an email with some information about the cost of culling, and it seems to be pretty low cost in terms of Goolwa. It's mentioned about $5,500 to engage a contractor, about $4,400 for one in Strathalbyn. So for less than $10,000, we can get this program underway. And I know in the past it's been mentioned that there's been no budgetary item for this. Well, we've got a report later on that shows that we do have some surpluses. We're about to sell some property in Goolwa. We've got some surplus from projects that we've been doing. So in terms of finance, I don't think there's an issue really when you look at the $50 million business that we're in. So I really think we could start this with a report for the September meeting and actually engage someone and get this moving. We might well be pioneers in the council industry of actually getting something done and doing something. It seems like the population is totally on side with us doing this. So I can't see why we have to wait till the October, but I support what's intended here. I think we need to get it underway.
Any further? Councillor Scott.
Jim, we're running the risk of witnessing a whole lot of hypocrisy and inconsistency with all this. It's well known that we eradicate rats, mice, rabbits, foxes, cats, kangaroos, camels, horses and pigeons because they are wherever they happen to be in abundance and causing damage. This is no different. Absolutely no difference at all. No one likes going out killing things, but we've made the life pretty good for them. That's why the experts tell us. That's why they've expanded. There's water everywhere, and improved pastures and everything, and they've just gone mad. And I think that we've put it off, and all we're doing is bowing to a small minority of people who I suggest could fall into the category of being inconsistent, because I bet you they wouldn't have rats and mice running around in their houses, and they wouldn't like to see foxes tearing lambs apart. So I think we've just got to bite the bullet and get on with it, and whatever it takes. So I think that Councillor Miller has been perhaps a little generous with her mid-October, but whatever it takes. But we need to have clear direction on how we go about culling these and get on with it. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Councillor Livingston.
Question. Just in relation to item 5 and then the broader Corella management strategy that we're contemplating, would, if that's successful later on in the agenda, will that form part of this item? Will we be ready to present our results of any investigations should we undertake them into other Corella management strategies by the October meeting?
Through the Mayor, thank you for the question. Yes, what this does is it takes that, so the Cadell Street trees item, which is later on in the agenda, 9.1, contemplated Corella management because it came through in the consultation and the feedback loud and clear. What this does is extracts it from the Cadell Street conversation and makes it its own I suppose, direction. We'll continue to work on this, and it's going to have an impact on the Cadell Street trees, but on the basis of this recommendation, it will become a regional consideration rather than just a local consideration.
Just to follow up from that, because in the later item we are looking at it from a regional and local perspective, would you be in a position to provide the broader report on Corella management strategies by the October meeting?
Yep, we can aim to meet that.
Any further? Councillor Maidman.
I'm aware that a report's not going to get this moving until the 19th of October, but these Corellas will be arriving around about the same time. So we get the report, we deliberate on the report. How soon would we get some action from this council? And I'm with Councillor Scott. I think we should bring it forward to September to get ahead of the game.
Through the Mayor, we do need a little bit of time to talk this thing through with state government. The important part of that is that we can do this, but we'll do it in isolation. And the same problem exists in Mount Barker, in Yankalilla, and surrounding areas. So there is a whole of region approach that needs to be taken as well. And we do want to bring that information through to the council when we bring that report forward. What we will do is ensure that in the process of working our way through this and any other things that we need to do to allow that to happen, we'll be getting quotes for this to happen alongside any other measure that seems appropriate to consider at the time. And on that basis, we'd have something ready to go subject to the outcome or deliberation of council.
Any further discussion? No, you'll have your right of reply. But yeah, so from I can say my perspective on it, having personally suffered an enormous amount of damage to my personal property by these things and seeing what they've done, not just in South Alban and not just in Goolwa, but throughout the region. And there's a cost involved, and we know that, and we know we've got indications that don't sound like it's very much money. I can assure you it will cost more than that. However, before we put a burden on our ratepayers again, another financial burden, consider that every ratepayer in Alexandrina pays a landscape levy. The Landscape Board responsibility is the control of overabundant species. They spend millions of dollars culling deer, pigs and kangaroos throughout the Fleurieu Peninsula. We have lobbied the Landscape Board in the past, wanting to get them to do something about it here. We have written to several ministers over the years wanting to get help, and we just haven't got anywhere. So we certainly have been trying, we haven't been ignoring it. They haven't, just to clear the air, they haven't gone away. They're still here. I live at Currency Creek. I see flocks of them every week. There's a group of several thousand that just do not leave. But when their mates come back, they cause mayhem and they are destroying this place. So we have to do something about it. Alan's spot on. We are in the process right now of again going to the Minister and the Landscape Boards, urging them to accept their responsibility. It's a statewide problem, not an Alexandrina problem. So we could go and spend a lot of ratepayers' money and get them to go away, but they'll come back. So I think if we can, while we're going through this process now of trying to get the government to do what we've paid them to do with the money we've given them for years and they've done nothing about it, we can probably start to sort of target, when we start to see them coming in, maybe have a lower cost target regime. If you go to Langhorne Creek, you won't see a Corella. Because the minute the Corellas appear on site, the vignerons down there shoot them. So the forward scouts come in. These are pretty smart birds. The forward scouts come in, and when they don't come back, their mates don't follow them where they've been. They stay away. but there are so, as you know, there are just so many of them to try that's not going to work over the entire region. So it's a good motion, and the good presentations, and they're all factual. There's no emotion. It's a really serious problem that we have to address, because it's a health, environment and infrastructure problem right throughout. So thanks for the deputations and thanks for everything. And Councillor Miller, would you like to sum it up?
Thank you, Worship. Having listened to my colleagues, I wonder if they would accept changing the word purpose of considering to changing considering to commencing. And that would pick up on the advice from administration that at the 19th of October we can make a decision on culling. We'll have a report about the regional, if I'm understanding the advice correctly, about the regional approach, but we can make a decision on the 19th of October or no later than the 19th of October to commence lethal culling. I think that's the sentiment that we're hearing and that I think I've picked up from my colleagues. So if Councillor Thornton is agreeable, I would like to change considering to commencing, if that's okay, Your Worship. Thank you.
Okay, so the second is happy with that. So that ends the discussion on the item. So I'll put it to you. All those in favour? Against? That is carried unanimously. So item 6 is questions with notice. 6.1 is a question from Councillor Miller regarding the Ratalang Basham Beach Conservation Reserve lease review progress. And there's only that question, and the answer is within the agenda. Item 7 is questions without notice. Are there any questions without notice? No. Item 8 is notices of motion. There are no notices of motion. Item 9 is administration reports. So 9.1 is the community engagement outcomes, future planning for the Goolwa Main Street trees. Now there's a recommendation group A, B and C. I looked at it. I think we could probably do A and B together and then do C separately. Councillor Scott, are you moving that?
Yes.
Second to Councillor Livingston. Is there any discussion about, we're talking about group A and B at the moment? If not, I'll put that to you. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. Then we go to recommendation group C, and that's got dot points A to E. Move Councillor Livingston. Do you wish to speak to it?
Yes, I would like to move it with a slight amendment to item 1D at the end to include for the 19th of October 2026 meeting.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Miller, you seconding it?
Yes, Your Worship. I wonder if Councillor Livingston would consider just a couple of other words as well. And I provided these beforehand. It just adds an F and a G. And the F is just picking up words that are actually in the report that say, because I think the community would like to know how we're going to prioritise this, and I think the adding the 19th of October works, but just add, note that as a matter of priority, elements A, B and D are proposed to be reported first over the coming few months, followed by elements C and then E. And that's just taken straight out of the report, if that's okay, because then it gives an urgency to it.
Councillor Livingston, you happy with that addition?
said yes, but I have a question.
What's the question?
Just in relation to the specific tree management plan, without understanding the impacts of the heritage buildings, can that go ahead and then be amended after?
Through the Mayor, I'm just trying to understand the question.
So the specific tree management plan that we're prioritising, will any of that specific tree management plan need to include details regarding the interaction of the trees with the buildings?
Yes, it would.
So then, would we then amend the plan after we get that information, if it's suggested that the other items have been prioritised?
Through the Mayor, that plan would be a living plan.
Okay.
So once it's commenced, we would be updating it on a regular basis.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Not, I'll put the recommendation to you. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. (9.2) is community outcomes regarding the Goolwa Rowing Club landowner consent. Tash, is there anything to change or add to that report? No. There's a recommendation with Group A and Group B. I'm happy to do them separately. I'll do Group A first.
Mayor Parks?
Yeah.
I've got a
Right,
general conflict of interest, so I better leave.
Just for a bit of interest, if you can do as requested, advise us before the meeting, not at the meeting, of these conflicts. It makes it easier that we can mark the agenda up so that we don't miss them as we're going through the agenda. The Coomers has gone, so we've got Group A. Is there a mover for Group A? Councillor Livingston. Seconder, Councillor Maidment. Any discussion on Group A? If not, I'll put the recommendation to you. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. Then we have a recommendation, Group B. Move Councillor Scott.
Happy to do so.
Seconder, Councillor Maidment. Is there any discussion relating to the Group B? If not, I'll put the recommendation to you. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. So if we can get Councillor Coomans back, please. And 9.3 is community engagement outcomes regarding the Middleton Pioneer Community Hall, their new lease request. Tash, any changes to that? So we've got, again, Group A, B and C, so I'll probably do them individually. Group A first, Councillor Livingston. Seconder, Councillor Maidment. Any discussion? Not, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. So we go to Group B. There's a recommendation there with 3 points. Move Councillor Scott.
And in doing so, Your Worship, I may speak. This has been has had a great history, and there's a committee that's got renewed enthusiasm and are keen to get on with this, and they recognise the great work that's been done by previous committees, and they are keen to proceed with the amendments that have been made and changes, relinquishing part of the property, but are keen to get on with it, and they are having great success with their occupancy. That's ever increasing. So it's a real success story and a win-win, and I urge everyone to support it.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Coomans.
Thank you, Mayor Parks. Yeah, happy to second this, and it seems like the community is 100% in support of this, so it's a no-brainer, and I'm looking forward to a further report to be presented of the future use for the old schoolhouse dwelling.
Any further discussion? Councillor Mayman.
Just a question on the old schoolhouse, and where is that at the moment? Because the Middleton community have put this aside from their lease. That was the first question. And the second question is, in drafting the lease, I noticed from the community feedback that if music was to be played in the hall after 9 p.m, they had to notify the neighbouring landowners. Very unrealistic condition, particularly during the summer months when it doesn't get dark till 9 anyway, and I would have thought 10 o'clock might have been a more appropriate time. Is that something that would be written into the lease?
Through the Mayor, I'll get our Manager of Property and Procurement to answer your questions.
So through the Mayor, the first question regarding the dwelling, we're currently putting together the costs of what it could look like to make that fit for use to be able to put it up back to council. So at this stage, we're probably not looking to get a report back on that for a few months while the BCA is done and we work out the complexities with putting someone else in that building. In regards to the second question regarding whether they need to notify neighbours, that's not something that you're resolving tonight if you're endorsing the lease, but it is something that I will work with the community group and try and negotiate an outcome that suits all parties.
Any further discussion? No? You want to write a reply? So I'll put the recommendation to you. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. So we go to recommendation group C. 2 dot points in there. Is there a mover for that? Move Councillor Maidment. Second, Councillor Livingston. Is any discussion relating to that? I'll put it to you. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. (9.4) is community engagement outcomes regarding the draft recreation and open space strategy. Alan, is there anything on that report we need to change? No. There's a recommendation there. Again, A, B and C, we'll do them separately unless somebody wants to move the whole lot, but I'm happy to do them separately. So is there a mover first? Move, Councillor Livingston. Are you A or the lot? No. So is there a seconder? Councillor Maidment was first. Is there any discussion? Not. I'll put the recommendation group A to you. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. We go to recommendation group B. Is there a mover for that? Move, Councillor Miller.
May I speak, Richard?
Yep.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to administration for presenting this report in the way they've gone about it. I think that recommendation C will be important, but I won't speak to that now. This body of work is vital for our community to use as a reference document and leverage for their own plans and applications. And I know how long it's taken, and that is a reflection of a district-wide approach to just gathering data and understanding what we do have and developing a way forward. I understand that this is a first for this council, and I imagine it'll be an iterative document because, as it's referenced by the community and leveraged, we'll probably identify things that may need to be tweaked or be included. And I just am very grateful that this has gotten to this point, and I look forward to it being a useful document for our community, and future reviews of it will be led by the community, I would imagine. Thank you.
So do we have a seconder? Councillor Scott.
In doing so, if I may just add to what Councillor Miller has said, I was very impressed with the enormous amount of work that's gone into this. And yes, it might need a few little tweaks, and it'll be added to as our sporting facilities improve along the way, I guess, too. But it's been, I think, a great credit to the team that's worked on it, and particular to Jess Bridgman. Yeah, it's a pretty good comprehensive document. So thank you.
Any further discussion, Councillor Coomans?
Just got a question on. I was looking at page 75, and it talked about it's taken 2 years and therefore not annually reviewed and updated. But how will the review be undertaken, given it will not be made public until then?
Through the Mayor, thank you for the question. The review will be a basic one. It will look at the action plan and just make sure that those particular elements are up to date. Then it will be published, and then we'll need to, we would need to consider how we move forward from a full review. So a full review would include, going back out to clubs, asking further questions. That's a whole another resourcing conversation that we'll need to have at that point. But we can do a first cut review just to bring it up, or bring it back to a 2026.
Any further discussion? Councillor Maidment.
Yeah, I've appreciated the addition of these appendices, the first draft we received, and I know it's very difficult to capture all the information from clubs. Some are reluctant to open up about their workings and how they operate. How confident are we that we've got everyone, or we still need to capture some more clubs out there? Because if we're at 100%, that's fantastic. Hopefully we are, but I don't know.
Through the Mayor, thank you for that question. It's going to be, strategies need to be live and need to be responsive to the community and to the work that's being done through the action plan attached to that strategy. So year on year, any strategy should be reviewed in some shape or form to keep it contemporary. As such, we would be reaching out, subject to having resourcing available to do so. We would be reaching out to clubs to reaffirm their position. Have they grown? Have they shrunk? Are they still there? Is there a new club that's popped up because a new sport or a new recreation has become something that the community want? So in answer to the question, it would be reviewed on an annual basis to make sure that it is contemporary, and we would include, to the best of our abilities, all those clubs that are within our region.
Any further discussion? Not, I'll put the recommendation to you. All those in favour? Well, then, look, and nobody moved. So you wish to speak?
I just wanted to close, if I may, just on a...
Yep.
Yeah, thank you, Worship. I know Councillor Coombs' questions, and I appreciate, I did wonder that too, about the review before it got published. And what I took that to mean was something like Action 33 that's in there, because it started 2 years ago, something like the Goolwa Oval Recreation Committee, that didn't progress down that path, so that would be tweaked to reflect what decisions were made there subsequently. I think the appendices are... I doubt we've captured everybody, because once this document becomes adopted and is published and starts being used, it will bring to light what's not in it or what's not accurate, and things change over time, and it will be a living, iterative document, I would imagine, and probably when we do our annual business plan to look at actions in this strategy, that might bring to light things that need to be tweaked or whatever. So I think from a starting point, and when we do our asset management plans and revaluations, we'll probably discover more assets that are in the open space or recreation space. And so I think to start as a first document, I think we need to start somewhere, and the community will leverage this and use it. And if nothing else, it will benefit them for their own purposes. Thank you.
Ends the discussion on Group B. So I'll put that to you. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. So we go to recommendation group C. So is there a mover for that? Councillor Livingston. Seconder, Councillor Miller. You speaking to it? No. Is there any discussion? If not, I'll put the recommendation to you. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. 9.5 is proposed community engagement on the draft Strathalbyn and Surrounds Town Plan. Matt, is there anything we need to discuss about that? Thanks.
Yes, Mayor Parks. Thank you through the Chair. I'd just like to note a correction in the draft Strathalbyn and Surrounds Town Plan regarding the timing of the Strathalbyn Recreation Precinct delivery. It's listed in the draft Town Plan as a medium-term item to align with Council's endorsed long-term financial plan. However, we intend to amend this to a short-term action prior to commencing community consultation, as the planning and design for the project is imminent and already funded by Council in the annual community plan. And the actual development should also be noted as short-term, subject to Council obtaining external funding. The reason being that it's important that the Strathalbyn and Surrounds Town Plan, it's an important strategic document when seeking grant funding, and it's important that the plan promotes delivery of the recreation precinct as soon as practicable.
The mover for that, Councillor Miller. You speaking to it? Is there a seconder? Councillor Maidment. Is there any discussion? Councillor Scott.
I just want to make an observation. This whole setup, a lot of work obviously has gone into this too. But I see on more than one occasion when I read through that report that people didn't want the town to lose its character. They didn't want it to become just a sprawling area. And yet, that's what's happening. And the character of the town is changing, and it is such a special town and with such unique character. It saddens me that the system, and I'm not talking about our planning staff or our council, but the system is allowing the character of the town to change before the gaze of the people that don't want it to change. And I think that's sad, and I think it's unfortunate that as a council it appears that we have almost or very little influence over what could potentially happen in the future. There's this sort of veiled threat that if we don't work in with what's suggested, then it'll be taken out of our hands altogether. And I just wonder, the merits of a system like that, because once it's changed, and it really hit me, I drove into Strath the other night, at night, from Mount Barker, and I mean, it was just an eye-watering setup coming to that roundabout at night, with coming into town, and I turned round the corner into the high street, and I got into Old Strathalbyn. And I just think it's unfortunate. Those sorts of things can happen. We can do nothing about it. And the people in Strathalbyn who really care have got even less opportunity or control. And I just think it's sad to say. I'm making an observation, but I just want it noted because I think it's extremely disappointing. At one stage, there was a plan to make Strathalbyn, like Glenrowan, absolutely totally heritage, and it didn't ever get up. There was a change of government and it didn't ever happen, but that's what it could have been with those lovely old buildings. And I think it's just sad that it's just being pushed. Anyway, that's my view. Thank you.
Councillor Maidment.
I don't think you need to worry too much, Councillor Scott. I've lived there for 50 years. I've seen a lot of changes. I'm very happy that my children can actually buy a house in Strathalbyn, and if they're going to be breeding, then their children will be able to buy a house in Strathalbyn at some stage. So if we can stop the breeding, then perhaps we might slow the pace of Strathalbyn down. So we've got the heritage overlays in various parts of Strathalbyn, and that's going to be expanded, and that will keep that character. What you're seeing is on the periphery, and with only 65 houses being built there per annum, 140 people coming in per annum, the food protection area is the challenge in 2027, when the government probably will play around with that a little bit under pressure from the developers who are sitting on parcels of land just outside of Strathalbyn, and they're all circling right now with this town plan, and they're looking at buying up 10-acre blocks or 20-acre blocks right as we speak, and that's the pressure we can't push back on. But at least and going back to 2017, this council did push back on that development north of Strathalbyn, where you come into a big flash OTR and a neighbourhood shopping centre. So it's to council's credit that they did that at that time. It slowed down that commercial development by 10 years basically. But it's coming more. We're going to get more. We're going to get a supermarket there right behind all of that. So when you come down the Long Valley Road, you'll see it'll all be lit up like Las Vegas. Anyway, I don't see a problem at the moment.
Any further discussion? Councillor Miller, you'll close the debate. You go ahead.
Thank you, Worship. I just have one question about the community engagement plan. Will we go to the schools? Can we add them to just directly email them all the schools? Just to give them the opportunity to comment. I think this plan will impact them in 15, that it is actually speaking to, especially the senior students. We experienced a remarkable young man at the Strathalbyn Town Plan consultation who was really across everything, and I think there's an opportunity here to directly engage with the schools. If they don't respond, that's fine, but we promote it to them. I'm very grateful that we're going to be at the Strathalbyn show that lands right smack in the middle. And when I nominated for council, I actually had a stand at the show and I talked all day about council things. And there were a lot of things I didn't know about council then, so I think it'll be a worthwhile experience. I think we just influence where we can, and the community is deeply engaged in this and want to protect that's what makes Strathalbyn attractive and why people come there. And the people who come there are equally as fiercely protective of what's there. And it's all about balance. And we do have a tour of Strathalbyn coming up, I think in September. I can't remember what the date is, but I think you'll see that even the developers that are coming there, we can't stop them, they're coming, but they are being very sensitive to what the community wants. And at the end of the day, it adds value to their developments when they are sympathetic to the environment that's around them. So, the system allows this to happen. We just influence where we can. And I'm grateful for the clarification about the time frame for the Strathalbyn Recreation Precinct. Thank you. And I look forward to the community now seeing their feedback reflected and what they'd like to tweak further. So thank you very much to the planning team and the consultants. I think they've been very sensitive and engaged really well with the community. And now this is the next step. I also wanted to thank you for the update on the actions that were from the 2014 version of this plan. I've been asked a lot about that, and that I've already referred it on to 2 people. Just go straight to that appendices. So thank you. I really, really appreciate that.
That ends the discussion, so I'll put the recommendation to you. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. And 9.6 is a proposed community engagement on the naming request for a bridge on Lake Road, Malang. Matt, anything to change or add on that report? No? There's a recommendation there with 2 dot points. Move Councillor Livingston. Second, Councillor Miller. Any discussion, Councillor Miller?
I just have one question. I haven't received a messenger message from someone asking me if the bridge they were referring to was actually the right bridge that they meant, and I'm assuming because it came from the community, it's gone through the Heritage Advisory Committee, that it is actually accurate. I meant to ask that before, but I guess this is what will tell us now if it is accurate or not, because it came from the community anyway.
Through the chair, yes, we're confident that it is accurate. It's the bridge over it's almost a culvert rather than a bridge that runs over the Bremer River just as it enters Lake Alexandrina.
Any further discussion? I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. 9.7 is the proposed revocation of dedicated land and the closure of unmade roads for inclusion in the Coorong National Park. And there's group A, B and C. Again, happy to do them individually or just do the lot. Councillor Livingston.
I'm happy to move A, B, C, D as well. Yep. No.
Sorry, I put the recommendation to you through A through to D. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. So 9.8 is the Rotary Club of Goolwa new lease request. Councillor Scott.
Yeah, excise my conflict of interest and I'll leave the chamber. Thank you.
Sorry, so the 9.8 is Rotary Club of Goolwa new lease request. Tash, anything to change on that report? There's a recommendation there, 1 to 4. Is there a mover for that? Move Councillor Maidment. Second, Councillor Coomans. Any discussion? Councillor Maidment, well, you'll hang on. You should just see if anybody else wants to speak. As the mover, you'll close it if you speak now. If you didn't speak when you moved it. Pardon? Yeah, and so is there any discussion? Now, so Councillor Maidment, you can speak and close it if you wish.
It was just a question to start because I noticed it's a 10-year lease, 5 by 5, and I know that the Rotary Club of Strathalbyn's got a 21-year lease. I don't know why they didn't apply for a 21-year lease, that was all. Is there a reason? Or is it things have changed?
Manager of Property and Procurement will answer that one for you.
So through the Mayor, thank you for the question. When a new lease does come up, we write to them and we give them all the opportunity to put in whatever term they want. We do advise that under the lease and licence policy, the maximum term is generally consistently applied at 10 years. However, they can apply for more. They were quite comfortable just to apply for 10.
Yeah, thanks for that clarification. If they're comfortable with that, then obviously we'll proceed on that basis. I just know that there are organisations out there that do prefer 21-year leases, so happy to leave it at that.
So that ends the discussion. I'll put the recommendation to you. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. So we can get Councillor Scott back from wherever he went. Thanks. So 9.9 is proposed additions to the pre-approved road names list. Matt, anything on that report to add or no? There's a recommendation there with 3 dot points. Move, Councillor Livingston. Seconder. Councillor Miller. Any discussion? Councillor Maidment.
Question. I noticed that under Council's road naming policy, they're reluctant to give roads with 2 names, or 3 words in fact. But I do notice that there are 14 roads in Strathalbyn containing 3 words. These 2 names were researched thoroughly by the people at the history room at Strathalbyn, and they thought it would be appropriate to have those names with their first names included, first name and surname, because it's a significant business that these 2 gentlemen were running back in the late 1800s, and they would have been the coach builders of today would be like Holden or Ford or something back in those days, because they had a lot of people working for them and making farm machinery. So the name, that's why those 2 names were thrown up as Joe Allen and John Wallace. I'm just disappointed that our policy should reflect that an opportunity to be able to do that going forward, because like I said, there's 14 other roads in Strathalbyn containing 3 words. There's 3 that I can find in Goolwa, and I think those names, those 14 roads were obviously named under the old Strathalbyn Council regime, excuse me, or most of them were, I'd say 90% of them were, so I think we should have a look at that in our policy.
Any further discussion? Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Worship. I hadn't planned to speak, but, and heaven forbid that I'm going to say we should test a policy out, because I do believe that policies are guidelines, but they are worthy of, I guess, testing the appetite to see if Councillor Livingston would consider including those 2 names, if there's that precedent. But I know I don't want to sort of create a can of worms, but I guess if Councillor Livingston doesn't want to, I don't have any issue, but I wonder if there's an opportunity. I know that I didn't speak when I seconded this, but I'd be willing as the seconder to include 2 names, given the historical significance of these, and I think it was John Wallace.
Matt, I just on that, I just ask your direction or advice, or Lachlan, on this. Having got a recommendation from the Heritage Advisory Committee, is it appropriate to change it?
Through the Chair, ultimately it is Council's decision as to what the road names are. The road naming policy that we currently have is effectively a guideline to try and simplify the names of roads. That said, it's not unlawful to apply 2 names, so should that be Council's desire, it could be achieved.
If Councillor Livingston, are you supportive of that addition? So that's okay? Yep. That's a variation, yeah. Yep. So is there any further... Oh, so we need leave of the meeting to accept that variation. All in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. So we need any more discussion? If not, I'll put the recommendation as changed to you. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. So 9.10 is the proposed 2026-27 grant program recipients, and there's a recommendation with 8 dot points. So, is there a mover for that? Councillor Livingston, you moving that? Seconder, are you speaking to it? No. Seconder, Councillor Maidment. Is it any discussion? Councillor Coomans.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Parks. I'm actually part of 2 of those panels. One's the Business Initiative Grant and the other one's the Community Wellbeing Grants. But I've sort of been involved in these over the years, and I think I'd really like to pay tribute to the admin officer who sort of runs the grants program, Bev Bogue. The amount of work that she does in relation to administering these grants is absolutely superb. And I'd like to think on behalf of the recipients and the assessment panels and staff, just thank her for her dedication and perhaps pass it on to her. But being a member of 2 of these, and I know the amount of work that we put into it in terms of coming to a decision or recommendation to council, but I'm just a little bit concerned about number 5. That's the community wellbeing grant applications, where one has missed out, and it is to do with the Oscar W. And I should mention that people probably know that I was the liaison officer with them for a number of years. But I'm just a bit worried about the reputational damage that this could cause, because what they're asking for is a platform that enables those in wheelchairs to be lifted onto the boat. It's very similar to what the Spirit of the Coorong has got, and they've asked for $2,500 for that. And you know, they have school groups, they've got special bus charters, the general public, and invariably there's always someone in a wheelchair. And at the moment, the volunteers for the Oscar W are not the youngest of, and they just manhandle or person handle the wheelchairs onto the boat. They never say you can't, they just do it, just like the Spirit of the Coorong does. And we've left them out, even though they, if you look at the assessment, they sort of fit in 13 out of the 16 that have been approved, yet they've been refused. The committee hasn't recommended them for funding. I'm just wondering whether, is there some real reasons why this is not happening, or is there a way that we could actually help them with this? Because to me it seems like, unless there's a good reason, that we really should do something about it.
Stacey, I should have asked you, sorry, at the beginning, was there anything to add, but could you answer that at all?
Thank you. There was nothing else to add, but thank you. Through the Mayor, I'm not on those panels, so I have to rely on the information that comes through on the minutes and the scoring sheets and things like that. I am aware of that one because I did provide advice on the technical part about is that appropriate, because we've got the lease and sort of everything to do with how we've got a partnership and collaboration with Oscar W. And yes, I provided information that I think that it's a valid application to put forward, but then obviously from there I don't have any say in that. So I'm assuming that if members would like to do something different, they can, but all we've got is what was written in the minutes, and it doesn't look like there was anything too specific about why, unless I'd have to quickly go back and have a look. But otherwise I'd have to take it on notice to find out a bit more about the reasonings why it wasn't scored highly enough to fit into the mix.
You've spoken to it. A question?
I did notice that in the recommendations that if some are subject to, and if there is some funds available after that, is that something that administration could apply to this sort of application?
Thank you. Through the Mayor, I'm just not sure of the technicalities if administration can do it, or whether it needs to be the chamber that decides on where that money goes. Yeah, I probably have it as the general manager, but I'd have to ask Bev. I can take that on notice if that's okay, Councillor. Can I take that on notice if that's okay? I just don't know the technicalities. I might have the delegation, or maybe the CEO does.
Number 9 might cover it, of the recommendations.
Councillor Maidment.
I'm on the Heritage Assessment Panel, and I do know that we have repeat requests year in, year out, and I don't know whether the criteria for the wellbeing grants takes that into consideration, because if you've got a grant over the last 2 out of 3 years, then they just put you down the list and put everyone that hasn't had a grant in that period of time ahead of them. So perhaps that's a reasoning, I don't know.
Any further discussion, Councillor Miller?
Thank you, Worship. I just, actually it's on the screen there, the reallocation of the remaining 3922. I had a query earlier that administration has answered for me, but I think that when the community-led tree planting project is scoped out, it would be good to understand how that's being delivered, and I'm only asking because, and it was picked up in the assessment panel's minutes about groups, and specifically, things like the Angus Bremer group, and there's another one there, the Second Nature Conservancy. I think I've got that right. They do year-on-year programs and plantings, and they have to go through this process every year to apply. When they're doing, this is an example of community-led tree planting. That would be good to, I'd just like to understand more about that tree planting project. I don't have any issues with this, but there are community groups in Strathalbyn who are ready to lead community tree planting there. So it's the scope of the tree planting project that I'm looking forward to understanding more about. But I think I don't have any issue with the reallocation, but I just want to make sure that it is going to the North Ward or the West Ward, because when you add up the funding that's been distributed through the environmental grants, there was 11,500 in the South Ward and only a couple of thousand in the North and West, and I know that's dependent on who applies, but it's just something that if we're going to allocate this money for community-led tree planting, I would like to ensure that there's just consideration given to the whole district, and I'm sure there will be, but I don't quite understand what that project's all about, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about it. But I think all of these are good news stories and help enable our community to really make living here. They want to contribute and do all this work. I think it's lovely for small amounts of money. The community benefit is wonderful.
Any further discussion? No. Just Second Nature Conservancy survive entirely on grants, 100% on grants, and they plant not just around Strathalbyn, just their offices in Strathalbyn. They plant everywhere throughout this region, but also outside the region. And so they're a very good organisation, very well run. So, Councillor Livingston, do you wish to reply? No. So that closes the discussion. I put the recommendation to you. All those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. 9.11 is the Fleurieu Futures Reports. Tash, anything to add to this item? No. There's a recommendation there with 2 dot points. Moved, Councillor Miller. Seconded, Councillor Livingston. Any discussion? Plenty to read. Councillor Coomans.
Look, just a couple of comments on, I suppose, is that it's just a pity that the 3 councils couldn't sort of agree on it immediately, and even though Victor Harbour has mentioned that it probably agrees with it, but it wants to go to extra step. And it looks like towards the end of 2027 or after the next periodic elections that there will be some discussions held with the three groups. Probably the Victor Harbour Council will call it, and we'll have some discussions about furthering the process of combining the various back office matters and maybe even talk about potential merging and what would be required and options with that. So I think we're probably on the right track anyway.
Is there any further discussion? No? All I can tell you is Queensland tried it and it didn't work. And they're still paying the bill for massive amalgamations and super councils. So out of Fleurieu Futures, it was clearly, when you read it all thoroughly, you'll find that it's clearly identified that amalgamation of the three councils was not considered to be a sensible option, but what was considered to be a sensible option and which the councils have been doing is to look at shared services and working together. And that they've been doing that and doing it very well. So, Councillor Miller, do you wish to have a right of reply?
Thank you, Worship. I'm just grateful that this is in the public domain and that it's come to the chamber, even though it's 10 years after the event. But I think this wasn't about amalgamations. It was about shared services, exploring efficiencies, and it was a great initiative back then. And it certainly wasn't just about amalgamations. It was about doing things efficiently and understanding our community. And I'm just glad it's out there for people to read. And some things change and some things still the same. So, and I do appreciate lots of work's been done in shared service and collaboration. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about local government. It creates an environment where you can do that. So thank you for all the work done to get this in the public domain.
So that ends the discussion. I'll put the recommendation to you. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. 9.12 is the quarterly performance report, Q4 2025-26. Andrew, anything to add to that report? And there's a recommendation there with 3 dot points. Do we have a mover for that? Move, Councillor Miller. Do you wish to speak to it?
Thank you. I really like the information provided in this report. I know it's not our year end, but it gives a good indication. I love the detail in it, and I did have some questions, but they're more for the administration. But I am interested in just one thing: how we achieved almost 2 million in savings in the sealed and unsealed road program. I mean, that's a significant amount of money. And did we over budget or did we not do some things? It's just a really big number. And we've spent $240,000 on urgent roadside vegetation management, and I just wondered, is that on top of business as usual? Or so that were the two main things that caught my eye, and the fact that we're going to deliver a surplus if all things go according to plan, if I'm reading this correctly, which is fabulous. So they're really the only two questions that I had, but thank you so much for this report. The quality of it and the information is great.
Through the Mayor, I can answer those. I'll answer the first question and I'll throw the second question to Andrew. The first question around the sealed and unsealed roads program, we have unit rates that we revise on an annual basis depending on the costs of materials, contracting, etc. that we have on a year-on-year basis. However, we have to budget on what would be a worst-case scenario in terms of what we find. So in many cases, we're peeling the road back, even an unsealed road, and don't necessarily know what we're going to find underneath that from a sub-base or a base perspective. Sometimes there's extensive rework required in those bases, which can be expensive, and sometimes there's not. So that's generally what you see there, is that if there's a saving, we've had a good year in that we've been able to do work and not had to do too much in base and sub-base work. some years we may find roads that need extensive remediation.
Through the Mayor, the answer to your second question about the surplus. Surplus is being driven by depreciation savings. Technically, I guess not savings. Our modelling process through trying to calculate what depreciation is every year with a bit of a guesstimate of around revaluations. The way that worked out, excuse me, this year was we were probably a little bit conservative in our approach. We're working on trying to improve that modelling, but we actually think what we've actually budgeted for 26, 27, sorry, I should get my years right, will be coming out pretty accurate. The surplus is also being driven obviously by the increase in financial assistance grants funding. They've advanced 80% of the 26-27 funding into 25-26. So that's about an additional 1.1 million to the budget. So in those two numbers, that's $2.1 million improvement from what we were forecasting during the third quarter. So they're the real drivers behind that sort of improved performance.
Yep. Through the Mayor, sorry, you did have a second part to that question in the first instance about roadside vegetation. So Council remember that it did adopt an additional amount of money for that to occur. So there is a large amount of money for roadside vegetation management this coming year, alongside getting our survey done of our road network.
Do we have a second?
Just to clarify that question, this was the quarterly performance for the last quarter of 2025-26, yes. Not. So I just wondered, it said that urgent roadside vegetation maintenance, and I just wondered was that on top of business as usual or in addition to for 25-26? So we did extra work.
Yeah, through the Mayor, my understanding of that is it is on top of a bit of a business as usual approach. It was dedicated hotspot roadworks.
We have a seconder. Councillor Maidment. Any discussion? If not, I'll put the recommendation to you. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. 9.13 is South Australian Regional Organisation of Councils, SAROC nomination. Councillor Miller, you've got a conflict. You declared on this yet? So this is the South Australian Regional Organisation of Councils, SAROC nomination. Tash, anything to add on this report? I just make sure everybody understands what SAROC is. No questions about that? Councillor Scott, you've got a question about SAROC? Right, let's get, now I'll call for a mover. So is there a mover? Now we can do Group A and Group B, do Group A plus whatever group you want to do, or we can do Group A and whatever.
So there's an alternative here.
I'm happy to go whichever way you want to go. I'm happy to do Group A first anyway. Move Councillor Cummins. Second to Councillor Livingston. Is any discussion around Group A? I'll put that recommendation to you. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. Now you've got the recommendation of Group B1 or Group B2, which then leads to other recommendations. So is there a mover for what? You need to tell me. A question?
I noticed that the B1 nominates the mayors of Victor Harbour, Kangaroo Island and Yankalilla. Did you have an interest at all?
No, for a number of reasons. One, I've already been the chair of Southern Hills and on the board of SAROC for a number of years, and I won't be here after April, so I wasn't intending to stand again, so I didn't want to take the opportunity away from somebody who potentially would be long term, which is really important. That's all. So we're at group, whichever I'm waiting to be told.
If I may, I was going to remove B1. Talk about long term. I'm not sure about one of those going long term, but that's what I see no reason why we can't endorse that. So I'm happy to move B1, 1 and 2.
Is there a seconder for Group B1 yet, Councillor Coomans? Is there any discussion? My belief is that both of those mayors will seek re-election, and I'm pretty certain they'll both get elected. Be surprised if they don't. So I'll put the recommendation to you. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. Could we get Councillor Miller back, please? So 9.14 is the Chief Executive Officer's report. Andrew, anything to add to your report? No, so the recommendation that Andrew's report for July 2026 be received. Moved Councillor Livingston. Seconded Councillor Scott. Any discussion or questions of Andrew regarding his report? Councillor Scott.
Yeah, look, I'm interested to hear you had a meeting with the Minister on the 1st of July. I presume that was in relation to the Traeger land, was it? Right. Is there anything to report from that, or pending, or what?
Sorry, through the chair. We distributed a council member portal update on Friday with an update on some of the outcomes from those meetings with the Minister.
Any further questions of Andrew? If not, I'll put the recommendation to you. All those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. 9.15 is the council resolution register. Andrew, anything to say on that report? No. There's a recommendation there that we receive and note that register. Move Councillor Livingston. Seconder Councillor Coomans. Any questions or discussion, Councillor Maidment?
This would be a question for Matt Atkinson. The state government undertaking the rural areas review. Is there a time frame for that? Because we've got Leon Creek accommodation in the pipeline.
Through the chair, I'm not aware of an anticipated delivery time for the state's work in that rural areas review. We will be presenting a report to next month's council meeting looking at some of our upcoming priorities to deliver our local area plans, which includes the rural areas accommodation review. Connie Parisi, our team leader planning policy, has already started doing quite a lot of investigations in that space, so we'll be able to provide an update on that next month.
Any further discussion or questions? If not, I'll put the recommendation to you. All those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. Item 10 is committee reports.
Mayor Parks, we've been going for 2 hours. Could we have a 5-minute break?
Yep. So let's start. Yeah. All that. At least I'm trying to work out the time to start back. So we'll start. Leave the meeting. If we break now and start back at 7:40. All those in favour? Pardon? I can't remember a seconder. We've got to go through the rigmarole. So, Councillor Cummins, you moved it. The seconder? Councillor Maidment, all in favour? Against? Against? So it's 3. So it's 3 against 3. I'll vote against it, and we continue on for another half an hour and see how we go. It's only 7:30. So item 10 is committee reports. 10.1 is the 2027 South Australian Wooden Boat Festival poster art competition. Stacey, anything to add to that report? There's a recommendation there with 6 dot points. Councillor Livingston, do you wish to move that? Do you wish to speak to it? Is there a second? Councillor Miller, do you wish to speak? No. Is there any discussion? If not, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. Uh, 10.2 is the South Australian Wooden Boat Festival Committee resignation of a committee member. Stacey, anything to add to that report? No. There's a recommendation there with 4 dot points. Moved, Councillor Livingston. Seconder, Councillor Miller. Is there any discussion? Well, you'll hang on. Okay, you can close it. Talk and close it. Go ahead.
I just wanted to personally thank Ken for all his work on the Wooden Boat Festival Committee.
So there's a discussion, so I'll put the recommendation to you. All those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. T 10.3 is the Ratalang, Basham Beach and Horseshoe Bay Conservation Reserve Works Program and Budget for 2026-27. Alan, is there anything to update on that report? No. There's a recommendation there with 3 dot points. Moved, Councillor Scott.
Yep, thank you.
Seconded, Councillor Cummins. Is there any discussion? No. I'll put the recommendation to you. All those in favour? All those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. Need to hold them up for a bit longer than a second, just to make sure I can see everybody. 10.4 is the resignation of Miss Amanda Van Wyck from the Cemeteries Advisory Group. Alan, anything to add to that? No. And there's a recommendation there with 4 dot points. You moving that, Councillor Maidment? Seconder, Councillor Scott.
And just in seconding it very quickly, she's been a strong member of that committee, and we'll certainly miss her and her work at Enthusiasm at Langhorns Creek.
Is there any further discussion? If not, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Hang on. It's getting late, but we've got to do it right. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. 11 is council member reports. 11.1 is the presiding member's report. That's my report for July 2026. It's a recommendation that that be received. Moved, Councillor Livingston. Seconded, Councillor Miller. Any questions regarding my report? If not, I'll put the recommendation to you. All those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. 11.3 is council member activity reports. There were no reports. Are there any verbal updates? Councillor Cummins.
Thanks, Mayor Parkes. The members may know that there's a project team in Mount Compass, and I'm a member of that, building a new war memorial and on the grounds of the War Memorial Community Centre, and is expected to be completed, ready for an official opening and dedication on Saturday the 7th of November from 11 a.m. We've got defence ceremonial, the RSL, the Army Museum and other groups are involved, and we expect it to be a very special event. Invitations will be sent to all council members and staff to attend and for the laying of a wreath So I'd ask members please mark it in your diary. It's Saturday the 7th of November this year, starting at 11 o'clock. Thank you.
Any other things to add? Councillor Miller?
Thank you, Worship. I just would like to acknowledge the Station Masters Art Gallery Sala opening. That was on the 9th of August. I just want to acknowledge their management committee. On that day, the Steam Rangers Highlander arrived from Mount Barker. The Sala bus from Adelaide stopped on there at the same time, and that was on its way down to Goolwa's Signal Point, and they were rapt with what they'd seen and experienced. The colour and texture that the gallery, Station Masters Gallery artists and volunteers bring to the fabric of the lives of those who live here and visit our community is a treasure to be celebrated. It's a valuable cultural asset to Strathalbyn and the wider community. Yesterday, I attended the Langhorne Creek Discovery Trail Community Information Session. I understand there are about 60 people in attendance all up. I wasn't there in the morning, but I was there in the afternoon. And I want to say congratulations to the project team with what they presented and how they engaged with the community so far. That is a really community-led project, and it'll be amazing. And I just want to acknowledge the Strathalbyn Antiques and Collectibles Fair yesterday, because I doubt Councillor Maidment will say anything, but it's an amazing activity for Strathalbyn. Best turnout, I think, for the last, ever, I understood. And the weather was very kind, and what that does for Rotary and what they contribute to that fair, I just don't think it can pass without being acknowledged. So congratulations to the community. Strathalbyn was just a buzz over the weekend. And so, yeah, thank you.
Any further? Councillor Livingston.
Just two things. I attended the River Lakes and Coorong Action Group AGM not the weekend just gone, the weekend before. Always really informative with their speakers, and what they're doing in the community is outstanding and ought to be acknowledged. And the other was similar to Councillor Miller in relation to the Sala opening. I attended the Fleurieu School Sala opening on Friday evening at Goolwa Secondary College and was blown away and wish that I could do art like that when I went to school.
Any further ones? Councillor Thornton.
I just wanted to tack on to the antique fair as a whole by Rotary and everything that they put together. There was also a community member who led the organisation of a huge garage sale kind of trail. Over 20 houses had a garage sale in Strath, which brought more people into the community driving around, also attending the fair. So they did a great job organising that too.
Any more? Councillor Scott.
Very quickly, I attended the Vietnam Veterans fundraising event in the Strathalbyn Town Hall on Saturday night. And I know we've been there for a council meeting, but it was just fantastic being in the hall, looking like it was with the Strath Town Band. It was just a fantastic night, and they raised some money for the organisation. But just to see the hall in its glory and functioning like it should, it was great. So. It was just nice to be there for a function rather than purely just a council meeting.
Any others? If not, we've got recommendations. We note those reports. Is there a mover for that? Councillor Thornton. Seconded, Councillor Maidment. I put it to you. All those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. Item 12 is confidential items.
South Coast Television, your community, your voice.